The night my parents chose my sister again, I was sitting on the edge of my bed, holding my packed bag. I hadn't planned to leave. But my mother stood in the doorway with her arms crossed, her face tight and tired. "Your sister needs peace right now," she said. "You should stay with your friend for a few days." I stared at her. "I live here." She sighed like I was the problem. "Don't make this harder." Down the hall, my sister Ava was crying loudly, the kind of crying that made my parents panic, the kind that always worked. I was 22 years old. I paid for my own phone. I bought my own food. I even helped with rent when I could. Still, I was the one being asked to leave. My dad didn't even look at me. He kept his eyes on the floor like if he ignored it, it wouldn't be real. I wanted to scream. Instead, I zipped my bag. As I walked past Ava's room, I heard her sobs soften, almost stop. That hurt more than anything. Outside, the air was cold. My car barely started. I sat there for a long time with my hands on the wheel, wondering how I became the extra one in my own family. This wasn't new. This was just the clearest version of it. Ava had always needed more. More attention, more patience, more forgiveness. When we were kids, she broke things. I got blamed. If she forgot homework, my mom said the teacher was unfair. If I forgot mine, I was careless. Once, when I was 10, I saved money for weeks to buy a small necklace from a school fundraiser. Ava wanted it. When I said no, she cried. My parents made me give it to her. "She's sensitive," my mom said. "You're stronger." That sentence followed me my whole life. At family dinners, Ava talked. Everyone listened. When I spoke, conversations drifted away. If Ava yelled, she was overwhelmed. If I raised my voice, I was disrespectful. I learned early that love in our house wasn't equal. It went where the noise was, and Ava was always loud. I became quiet instead. Not because I wanted to be, but because it was safer. In high school, Ava struggled. She skipped classes, failed tests, fought with teachers. My parents blamed stress. I worked 2 part-time jobs and kept my grades high. They said, "Good, at least one of you is responsible." When college came, my parents emptied their savings for Ava's tuition. She dropped out after 1 year. When I asked if they could help me too, my dad said, "We can't afford 2 mistakes." That word sat in my chest for years. Mistake. I took out loans. I worked nights. I didn't complain. When Ava moved back home after another breakup, she took my room. My parents said it made sense. She needed space. I slept in the basement. Again, I told myself it was temporary. Again, I believed them. The fight that pushed me out started over something small. It always did. Ava accused me of judging her because I didn't respond fast enough to her story. She yelled. I stayed calm. That made her angrier. She threw a cup into the sink. It shattered. Then she cried. My parents rushed in like the house was on fire. "She's been through so much," my mom said. I said, "So have I." The room went silent. My dad frowned. "This isn't about you." That's when I knew. It never was. An hour later, my bag was packed. Not hers, mine. That night, I slept on my friend's couch and stared at the ceiling. I kept replaying my mom's words. "Your sister needs peace. What about mine?" I thought maybe they'd call. Maybe they'd say sorry. They didn't. 3 days passed, then 5. On the 6th day, my dad texted, "Hope you're doing okay. Ava's feeling better." That was it. No question about me. No invitation home. That's when something inside me finally shifted. Not anger, understanding. I wasn't losing their love. I had never truly had it the same way she did. And once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. I didn't move back home. At first, I told myself it was temporary, just until things settled. But days turned into weeks. My parents never asked when I was coming back. I found a small room to rent near my job. It wasn't much, thin walls, old carpet, a tiny window, but it was mine. I worked longer hours, took extra shifts. Some nights I came home so tired I ate cereal for dinner and fell asleep in my clothes. Still, I felt lighter. No yelling, no tension, no walking on eggshells. But every weekend, guilt crept in. I wondered if I was being selfish, if I should call more, if I was being unfair. So I did. I called my mom one Sunday afternoon. She sounded distracted. "Oh, hi," she said. "We're helping Ava apply for another program." I waited. She didn't ask how I was. I hung up feeling foolish for hoping. A month later, Ava posted pictures online. New hair, new clothes, smiling face. The caption read, "Fresh start." My mom liked it within seconds. That same week, my car broke down. I called my dad for help. Just advice. He sighed heavily. "Bad timing. We just helped Ava with her deposit." I said I understood. After we hung up, I cried in my car until my eyes burned. Not because I needed the money, but because I knew if our roles were reversed, they would have found a way. They always did. When holidays came, I wasn't invited at first. Then my mom sent a message. "If you want to stop by, that's fine, but Ava's sensitive right now." Sensitive again. I didn't go. I spent the day working and ate takeout alone. It hurt, but not as sharply as before. Something was changing inside me. I stopped explaining myself, stopped defending my feelings, stopped chasing fairness from people who never planned to give it. A year passed. I got a better job. Small promotion, better pay. I didn't tell my parents right away. When I finally did, my mom said, "That's nice." Then she added, "Ava's thinking of going back to school again." That was the whole conversation. I realized something strange. They only called when Ava needed something. Advice, money, support. I was only mentioned when I was convenient, like a footnote. One evening, I received a message from my mom. "Can you come over this weekend? We need to talk." My stomach tightened. Part of me hoped, foolishly, that maybe they missed me, that maybe this time was different. I agreed. When I arrived, Ava was sitting at the table, crying, again. And I already knew. Whatever this was about, they had chosen her, again, before I even walked through the door. When I walked into my parents' house, nothing looked different. Same couch, same pictures on the wall, same smell of coffee and cleaning spray. But I felt like a guest. Ava sat at the table with her head in her hands. My mom rubbed her back. My dad stood near the window. No one hugged me. No one asked how I'd been. My mom spoke first. "Ava's having a really hard time." I nodded slowly. Ava sniffed. "I messed up again." My dad cleared his throat. "She lost her place." I waited. My mom looked at me. "She needs help getting back on her feet." The words hung in the air. I already knew what was coming. They weren't asking how I felt. They were preparing me. "We were hoping," my mom said carefully, "that you could help cover part of her rent for a while." I stared at her. "Me? You're stable now," she said. "You're responsible." That word again. Responsible. Like it was my role in the family. I looked at Ava. She didn't meet my eyes. "How long?" I asked. My dad said, "Just until she figures things out." I almost laughed. That sentence had no ending. I took a deep breath. "I can't." The room went still. My mom's face changed. "What do you mean you can't?" "I mean I won't," I said quietly. "I barely managed on my own." Ava looked up then, eyes sharp. "Wow, so you just don't care?" That hurt more than I expected. I care, I said, but I'm not her safety net. My mom stood. She's your sister. And I'm your daughter, I said. Silence. My dad rubbed his temples. Why are you being difficult? There it was. Not concern, not understanding, just disappointment. I felt small again, like the kid standing in the hallway with a drawing no one looked at. I've always helped, I said softly. I just can't keep doing this. Ava stood suddenly. You think you're better than me now? No. Yes, you do, she shouted. You've always judged me. I hadn't. I just survived quietly. My mom's voice cracked. This is breaking our family. I wanted to scream that it had been broken long before this, but I didn't. I picked up my coat. I'm sorry, I said. I can't fix this. As I walked out, no one followed me. Not even once. In my car, my hands shook. I wasn't proud. I wasn't relieved. I was grieving, because saying no meant accepting something painful. They didn't need me. They needed what I could give. That night, my mom sent a long message. It talked about sacrifice, about motherhood, about how much she had given up. She ended it with, "You owe me everything." I stared at my phone for a long time. That sentence echoed in my head. Oh, like love was a debt. Like being born meant permanent repayment. I didn't reply. For the first time in my life, I didn't explain myself. And in that silence, something inside me finally began to wake up. After that message, my mom stopped calling. Days passed. Then weeks. At first, I felt guilty, like I had done something cruel. But slowly, I noticed something strange. Nothing bad happened. The world didn't fall apart. I still went to work. I still paid my bills. I still woke up each morning. The silence was uncomfortable, but peaceful. Then one evening, I ran into my aunt at the grocery store. She hugged me tightly. Your mom's been saying you abandoned the family. I froze. That's not what happened, I said. My aunt sighed. I know. I've seen this before. Her words stayed with me. Before? A few days later, I met my friend Leah for coffee. She listened quietly as I told her everything. When I finished, she said something that changed everything. Do you realize, she said gently, that you were raised to feel guilty for having needs? I stared at her. She continued, your sister is allowed to struggle. You're not. That's not love. That's conditioning. The word hit hard. Conditioning. I went home and replayed my childhood in my mind. Every time I was told to be patient. Every time I was told to understand. Every time I was told to give up something for Ava. It wasn't random. It was training. 2 weeks later, my dad called. His voice sounded tired. Your mother's been really upset, he said. I waited. She feels like you've changed. I almost laughed. I have, I said. There was a pause. She just wants things to go back to normal. Normal. The word made my chest tighten. Normal meant I stayed quiet. Normal meant Ava took. Normal meant I disappeared. I don't think I can go back, I said. He didn't respond. Then he said softly, your sister's struggling again. I closed my eyes. There it was, still. That night, I wrote a list, not of things I owed, but of things I had already given. Years of silence, years of sacrifice, years of being the strong one. I realized something painful. They never asked if I was okay. They assumed I always would be, because I had no choice. And suddenly I understood. They didn't choose Ava because she was better. They chose her because she was louder, because she broke, because she demanded. I had survived quietly, and that made me invisible. A month later, my mom showed up at my door, unannounced. She looked tired, older. I don't recognize you anymore, she said. I met her eyes calmly. That's because you never really saw me. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I continued. I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself. Tears filled her eyes. You're tearing this family apart. I shook my head. No, I said softly. I'm just stepping out of the role you gave me. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel afraid saying it. After my mom left, the messages started. Long ones. Emotional ones. She wrote about how tired she was, how hard motherhood had been, how she gave up her dreams for us. Every message ended the same way. I just want my family back. I read them all. And for the first time, I noticed something. Not one message asked how I was doing. Not one asked if I was hurting. They weren't conversations. They were reminders of obligation. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because I finally understood that explaining myself only restarted the cycle. Ava reached out next. Her message was short. So now you think you're better than us? I stared at the screen. I typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, I wrote, I just want peace. She replied almost instantly. Must be nice. Some of us don't get to walk away. I felt a familiar twist in my chest. But this time, I didn't rush to fix it. I realized something important. Ava didn't want equality. She wanted priority. And she always had it. A few weeks later, my parents invited me to dinner. I hesitated, but part of me wanted closure. The evening was tense. My mom watched me closely. My dad barely spoke. Ava arrived late and acted like nothing happened. Halfway through dinner, my mom said, We just want things to go back to how they were. I set my fork down. I don't, I said calmly. Everyone froze. I don't want to be the one who always gives, always understands, always disappears. Ava scoffed. Here we go. But I didn't raise my voice. I love you all, I said, but I won't shrink anymore. No one argued. They didn't know how. After that night, something changed. Not in them, in me. I stopped waiting for fairness. I stopped hoping they'd suddenly understand. I accepted the truth. They didn't choose my sister again. They had always chosen her. I just hadn't wanted to see it. And once I did, the pain softened, because clarity hurts less than confusion. A month later, my mom called. Her voice was quiet. Your sister moved out again. I waited. She's staying with a friend. There was a pause. I don't know what we'll do this time. I said gently, You'll figure it out. She sounded surprised. You're not coming? No, I said, but I hope she'll be okay. And I meant it. For the first time, love didn't mean sacrifice. It meant distance. Life didn't suddenly become perfect after that, but it became honest. I built routines that belonged to me. Morning walks, quiet dinners, weekends that didn't revolve around crisis. I laughed more, slept better. For the first time, my peace wasn't borrowed from someone else's approval. Sometimes guilt still knocked, but I didn't open the door. One afternoon, my dad called. His voice sounded older than I remembered. I didn't realize how much pressure we put on you, he said quietly. It wasn't an apology, but it was close. I thought being strong meant you didn't need us. I swallowed. Being strong meant I didn't have a choice, I replied. He didn't argue. That meant more than words. Months later, I saw Ava at a family gathering. She looked different, quieter, less certain. When she spoke to me, it wasn't sharp. I didn't know, she said. I believed her. She had grown up believing the world would catch her every time she fell. I grew up learning to land alone. Neither of us chose that. But only one of us survived it quietly. That night, I lay in bed thinking about my childhood, about the fridge drawings, the basement bedroom, the packed bag.
And suddenly, it all made sense. My parents didn't choose my sister because they loved me less. They chose her because they were afraid. Afraid she would fall apart, afraid I wouldn't. So they leaned on the one who stayed standing until she nearly broke. That was the truth I had been missing. I didn't forgive everything. I didn't forget everything. But I understood. And understanding freed me. I stopped asking why I wasn't chosen, because I finally knew. I wasn't overlooked. I was trusted to survive. And now, for the first time, I chose myself.